Hello everybody! Miss Hines' second grade classroom sent me a bunch of questions about living in South Korea, and I'm gonna answer them. Alright, so we have 2 questions. I'm gonna do the first one as a double answer. We have Naeli, and she asked, are Korean clothing different from ours, and if so, in what way? And Adnai asked, what do Korean shoes look like? So the short answer is Koreans wear a lot of the same kind of clothes we do. T-shirts, jeans, pants. I do think they're a little bit more stylish than your typical American, and people do like to dress up more when they go outside. Like you very, very rarely, I don't think I've ever seen anyone go out in pajamas or just like bad looking sweatpants. Korea, especially the city of Seoul, is known for its fashion. And the shoes that Koreans wear are just the same as Americans. A lot of people like Nike, Fila's, and Adidas. And of course, you'll see people dressed up in nice high heels when they're going out or if they work in an office. The next question is from Danny, and he asked, do Korean kids use book bags or backpacks? And the answer is yes. They use book bags and backpacks just like us here. The next question is from Avina, and she asks, what do you do when it's a high pollution day? Well, today is kind of bad, so I closed all of the windows, have my air purifier running, and if I have to go outside, I wear a mask. Jerry asks, what are the buildings like in South Korea, and what's the tallest building in South Korea? If you live in Seoul or another big city, chances are you live in a high-rise apartment. It's a lot more uncommon for people to live in a single-family house. Most people here have apartments, and most people here really don't have yards. The tallest building in all of South Korea is Lotte World Tower. It was built in 2016 and it is 1,821 feet tall and 123 stories tall. It's currently the 5th tallest building in the entire world. Ethan asks, what kind of different animals live in South Korea? So a couple of different animals that are native to South Korea include the white-naped crane, the Asian black bear, the lynx, the Siberian musk deer, the Korean goral goat, the Korean crevice salamander. In the oceans, there's the minke whale and the Amur leopard, which is a very rare and endangered species. There's believed to only be about 70 of these left in the wild. Mario asks, can you speak Korean? And have you ever tried octopus? 한국어 잘 못해요. That means I can't speak Korean well. And have I ever tried octopus? Actually, yes I have, and it was in the United States at a Chinese restaurant. I do like spicy octopus. Catherine asks, what's the weather like there? Did you know Korea has 4 seasons? It's actually similar to the weather you experience in the Midwest. Summers are very hot and very humid. I'd say they're a little bit more hot and more humid than where we're from. And then there's monsoon season that happens between June, July, and August, where it rains all the time and it's so humid. Fall is really beautiful. I think it's the best season in Korea. It cools off and all the trees change colors and their leaves fall off. Winters here can be pretty cold, although it's a very dry cold, which means South Korea doesn't get as much snow except for in the mountains. Spring begins to warm up again. It could be cool and blustery winds, but everyone looks forward to all the cherry blossoms. Natalie asks, how do phones work in Korea? Well, if you want to travel to South Korea, you will have to get a Korean SIM card for your cell phone and a Korean phone plan. But other than that, phones here work just the same as they do in the United States. And South Korea is the first country in the world to implement 5G cell phone service for the entire country, which means you get extremely fast internet here on your phone. Alyssa asks, what is Korean money like? And right now, what I have for you is 1,000 won. Here's the front side. And here's the back side. Now 1,000 won sounds like a lot of money, but in reality, 1,000 won is about $1. Korean money is a lot more colorful than money in the United States, and as the bills get larger, they also get bigger in size. JJ asks, what kind of video games do people like in South Korea? Right now, the most popular games I'd say is PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, because that game is actually made by a Korean company. League of Legends, Overwatch, StarCraft, and Tekken. Fabian asks, what kind of toys do kids most like here? I'd say kids like to play a lot of video games, either on their computers or on their phones. You find a lot of similar toys here in Korea, like there's Pokemon cards, there's Legos, people like to put together model kits, especially robots, and of course there's lots of dolls for Korean girls. The next question is from Javier, and he asks, what kind of board games do Koreans play? I think the most popular game is called Go, or Baduk in Korean. And this game is so popular, in fact, they have championships and a TV channel that broadcasts people playing matches 24/7. This is originally a game that came from China, and it's been played for hundreds and hundreds of years. Another game is called Janggi, which is kind of like the Korean version of chess. Another traditional game that's played in Korea is called Go Stop, which is a card game. And of course, you could always find just regular playing card decks like we have here. And there's also a lot of popular games from America that get translated into Korean, like Monopoly, for example. Manuel asks, where do Koreans like to travel to? Well, there's plenty of good traveling destinations within the country, but if you're on an extended holiday, Koreans like to travel to places like Japan, China, Thailand, and the Philippines. Francisco asks, how do Koreans travel? What's the most common mode of transportation? And I'd say if you live in a big city, you will be taking the subway and you'll be taking the train a lot. A lot of Koreans don't own cars, so instead they like to ride their bikes or use a bunch of different kinds of scooters. Anai asks, what kind of decorations do Koreans have on their clothes, and what does their flag look like? Well, like I said earlier, they have a lot of similar styles to us, but I will point out their traditional clothing. This is called a hanbok, and it's worn by females on their wedding days and really special formal occasions. And this is the formal male clothing. He would also wear this on his wedding day and maybe extremely special occasions. And the Korean flag looks like this. Dylan asks, what are churches like in Korea, and are there Catholic churches here? So the answer to that is yes, there are Catholic churches here in Korea. About 25% of the Korean population identifies as a Christian denomination, and that does include Catholics too. You will find Catholic churches and all kinds of Christian churches all over Korea. About 25% of the population identifies as Buddhist, and you will find plenty of amazing Buddhist temples here. And the rest of the Korean population is non-religious. Gracelyn asks, what is Christmas like in Korea, and do they celebrate any American holidays? Christmas in Korea is a little bit different here. If you're Christian or Catholic, then you probably celebrate it in a similar way. You're celebrating the birth of Jesus and you probably go to church. But I will say, the giving of gifts is not as big of a thing here. You don't get a ton of presents. You might give or receive 1 or 2 gifts from your friends or family, but it's not a big thing where you open up a bunch of presents on Christmas morning. Instead, a lot of families like to go out to eat for Christmas dinner, and it's kind of treated like a date night. And they really don't celebrate American holidays. So, they're not celebrating Thanksgiving, although Koreans do have their own version of Thanksgiving called Chuseok, and that's one of the biggest holidays in Korea. Of course, they're not celebrating 4th of July, Independence Day, although Korea has their own specific Independence Day. And Koreans will celebrate New Year's on January 1st like we do, but they celebrate Lunar New Year's. And that usually ends up being somewhere in January or February. The date changes every year. But that's the big New Year's celebration for them. And last, we have Miss Heinz, the teacher. And she asks, what are Korean schools like? And do they go to school on Saturdays? Korean schools are a bit more intense than American schools. You will go Monday through Friday, and then every other Saturday, and Saturday classes are usually a little bit shorter than the rest of the week, like half days. A lot of Korean students attend hagwon, or cram schools, after school. So these are secondary schools where you have classes in the evening, and that's where you get extra lessons. That's where a lot of Korean students will take extra English lessons, or they study extra hard for all of their exams. Overall, I'd say Korean kids are in school a lot more than American kids, and they also don't get summer vacation. They don't get one really long break in the school year. Instead, they will get maybe a week off here and there, but they're in school a lot more than American kids. And those are all the questions that I got asked about South Korea. So I want to thank Miss Heinz and her 2nd grade class, and Miss O'Keefe as well. Thanks for sending in all of these questions and liking these videos. If you want to hear more about South Korean culture and what it's like to live here, please like and subscribe to this video. I'll be coming out with a lot more content. And I want to say, have a happy summer vacation to all of you out there. Bye!